Hello, YouTube! I am Pinstar, and this is Planet Coaster Strategy and Tactics. So, I've been doing a couple of my first few videos here, just sort of getting my toes wet in the water here. But this game compels me. It has caught my interest enough to analyze the ever-living crap out of it enough to do a proper strategy and tactics series. I know I haven't done one of those in a while, so away we go. Now, in classic strategy and tactics fashion, we will be doing, well, in this case, the sandbox with money. Like, Sandbox itself is unlimited funds. That's not fun. That's not challenging. That's not worthy of strategy and tactics. No, we're going challenge mode here. I am going to stick with the Alpine map because I do happen to like the aesthetics better there. And difficulty hard? No. Harder. They actually, like, maybe a week or two after release, they released a harder mode on top of the hard. So that is what we are going to be playing for this series. As for our park name, we'll call it, I'll be simple and boring, at least for now. We might change the park's name as we go. Pinstar Park. Let us begin. Now, there are a few things to keep in mind with the harder difficulty, and things that we are going to have to play towards, or play against, rather. All right, well, first off, in challenge mode, for those of you who are not familiar with it, or for those of you who haven't played the game and aren't sure what this mode entails, there are, well, a number of semi-randomly generated challenges that task you with doing something. And as a reward for completing whatever it is, they'll give you $1,000. Which, given that we only start with $2,000, not a bad thing. Not a bad thing. That being said, the challenges given are randomly generated. I don't know if... Well, let me digress. So here, we otherwise have a completely blank slate here. Nice flat land. Besides all the, I mean, basically everything that's not flat land is just unbuildable scenery, but still, it's a huge chunk of real estate in which to build our dream park. And here's our entrance right here. So, what shall we start with? We actually only have a couple of rides to our names. We've got the American Arrow. We've got the Venetian Carousel. We've got Wild Blue here. And that's it. That's literally all we have for rides for the moment. One of the things that this mode tasks you with is to research new rides here. Unfortunately for us, researching new things costs money. Like, for example, researching a new coaster will cost you at minimum $3,000. We only have $2,000. Well, guess what? I'm going to research it anyway. That's right, because it only ticks away at $1,000 per month. And I'm going to try and get the park up and running to a point where we're going to be able to rebound against that. And even if you dip into the negatives for a little bit, that's not the end of the world. The other thing that I want to research here is the first aid station. Now, the reason I'm researching the first aid station, which, I mean, well, it's nice and cheap. It's only $100. But that's not the real reason I'm researching it. And it's not for the sake of the first aid station. We're probably not going to build one of those for, well, quite some time. It's the thing that comes after the first aid station that we are after. Now, do we want to dabble into a third piece of research? Maybe. This is a really good family ride, the first family ride that comes researchable, but that's another $1,000 ticking away at us. I might hold off on that, just for prudence's sake. For the moment, we are going to research it. It is a good ride. So, what are we going to do to bring in the big bucks and well, make this $2,000 count? Well, first off, we can't do jack with $2,000, or at least not effectively do jack with $2,000. So what we're going to do is we're going to go over here to the Finances tab, go to the Loans, and we have exactly 2 loans available to us at really horrible interest rates. $5,000 loan at a 30% interest and a $10,000 loan at 20% interest. You kind of need to take this to sort of jumpstart your park. I'm going to take the $10,000 one. So now we've got $12,000. We actually have an appreciable amount of money that we can work with. And for the moment, I'm going to make the minimum payments on our loans here. I know that's going to cause me to pay more in interest over time because it takes longer to pay it off, but that's okay. We need the money now. We can always pay it off early once we get our finances back up and running. Right then. Now, what are we going to do with $12,000? Well, if you remember in my previous challenge, or not my previous challenge, my previous videos, that I'd always been designing coasters with a $10,000 budget in mind. There's a reason for that. It's for challenge mode. Now, the coaster that we created in my first and second video, Texas Tea, is all well and good, but unfortunately it requires a lot of scenery parts that I haven't unlocked yet. If we go to my blueprints here and go to my coasters, it's one of these. This blueprint contains stuff that hasn't been unlocked yet, so we cannot make use of Texas Tea in its purest form. That being said, I have been making many other coasters of the American Aero type that we can make use of. And the one that I've kind of been experimenting with, that I've been playing with, and I've enjoyed the most here, is this one, Flight of the Bumblebee. This is one that I created myself, off-screen, obviously. And there's a reason for this. There's actually a couple reasons for it. One is I wanted to experiment the gimmick that I had in mind here. Why are you... I think we might move you down a little bit further here. Yeah, I think that's good. Yeah, that's good. Well, boom! $8,239 and change. So the gimmick with this particular ride, and we'll take it for a spin in a moment, is that it only has one drop. And I was wondering, I was asking myself, Pinstar, can you build a ride that only has one drop, but can otherwise maintain its excitement level throughout the whole ride? And the answer is yes. The answer is very much yes. This thing has, well, it has over an 8 excitement level, which we will see once we retest it. But let's get our pathing built here. Now, I've got the entrance here. Exit over here. We want those towards the middle. That way, people can fan out and get into their lanes faster. And when disembarking, people can have less total time to travel to the exit. And the faster people leave, the faster people can get on. And it just makes the whole throughput a lot more effective. Now then, let's see here. Other thing I want to do, not scenery. I want to get my main path going here. And I think this rustic gravel path is going to be my primary path du jour. Now, one other tip that I have in mind here when it comes to paths is you want a sort of a primary artery for your park. You want one path that pretty much everything else goes off of. And for this big arterial path, you don't need length at that. We want that path as wide as possible. Now I'm going to, and also the other nice thing about this coaster is the way it's designed. It is exactly the right height to allow paths to go under it. So yeah, it may have looked like I just took up a huge chunk of real estate right in front of my park and, I'm going to have to build around this. Nuh-uh. I don't need to build around it. I can build through it. So that design is, well, on purpose. Now, this thing is $30 a pop, so we don't want to draw this arterial path out too much, at least until we need more of it. And we'll do one more sectional. There. And then for the actual paths going around to connect to it. This one, I like to have the paths, like the paths that are coming from specific rides be different from each other, just to sort of give them a little, distinct feeling and sort of remind me, okay, these people are coming from this ride. Yeah, we'll do this one as the sandstone. Oh yeah, no, we don't want a 10 wide path. Not for the exit queue. There's no reason you'd need a wide exit queue here. Now, one other thing I'm doing here is, I mean, you can click on angle snap and you'll get a much cleaner path here. Here, I'm going for a little bit more of a wandery feel to it. And two, I want to put a little space between the path and the station, and I'll show you why in a moment. Not too much, just a little like that. Now, we are a little bit off the ground here, so if you hold shift and pull down, it will make us into this path. It looks like we're already kind of in sort of the side of the mountain here. So it looks like we're going to need to go, we'll want to dive under this thing here. There we go. Yeah, I guess we're going to commandeer part of this path. I mean, we're going to continue it forwards once we build more of the park out. But for now, it can just hook into the end there. That's fine. Now for our ride queue. Now, a question you should ask yourself nice and early is, am I going to do priority passes? Am I going to do those little line skipper things where you sell those to people and they get to skip the line? Normally, I would go out of my way to do them. Normally, I would. The problem is that on harder, people are, you get a lot fewer guests coming in. A lot fewer guests coming in compared to the easier modes of challenge mode. I mean, making a really nice park, advertising, getting great rides in there, you still are hurting for people coming in. As a result, the crowds, a slight benefit to this is the crowds are not as bad, just naturally speaking. What do we got here? Brick? Nah. Gray queue path. Cobblestones. Yeah, we'll do cobblestones. And for this one, oops. There, this one we'll tell it to go down. So it can hit the ground here. I am going to let it wind a little bit, but again, actually we don't want to go that far. Also, the other thing is, if you make a mistake on harder mode, make sure you use Control Z in order to avoid having to just resell stuff. Because the problem with reselling stuff is on harder mode, you only get 25% of the original cost back when you sell things. But if you Control Z undo them, you get back the full cost. But you kind of have to do that immediately after realizing your mistake. So we're going to let it wind back around here. Yes, I know we have a lot of space over here, but I've got something else planned for that space. We don't want the path to be too long. I mean, and I don't want to, I want to keep these supports in place here. I don't want to smush them just because they look nice. In my opinion, they look nice. Here we'll go up and around. Also, I would recommend hooking your things into the path themselves. It is tempting to hook them straight into your exit thing to get repeat riders, but I like hooking it into the main path because that way when people crowd around it, there's a lot more room for everyone else to maneuver. So we're going to hook you into here. Perfect. There, that's a nice long enough queue, although I can tell you this ride seats enough people that it's never going to back up to this length. Never. There just simply is not enough warm bodies that will be entering the park. Now then, we've got this. We've got a few other things, though. We've got $3,372. Let's build some more rides. The more rides you have, the more park rating you get, and the more warm bodies you come in. So we're going to build a Venetian carousel, because this thing is, while not super intense, it's actually a little on the lower side think like a 4.5 or something. But that's still too intense for children. And actually, children can't ride American Aero style coasters. So right now, children and therefore families have absolutely nothing that they can enjoy in the park. And we don't want them to, well, not enjoy that, because then they'll just leave. And like I said, in harder mode, you need to keep the warm bodies in your park. So we're going to build the Venetian Carousel. Not the biggest money maker of all times, but it's there just to keep people happy. Now, one other thing that I did here, one of the other things I hear is, notice how this thing loops and twists and turns around and therefore makes these little circular spaces? Yeah, that's useful for tucking rides in place. So we can have a nice compact park here. And still have people enjoying it. Ooh, one little tip here, especially for these circular rides. I want to put the exit here because that dumps us right out into the path. But you want your exit near your control station here, so that when your handyman, or not your handyman, your maintenance man goes in and does their thing, it's a shorter walking distance. So what we're going to do is we're just going to move, hold the Z key to rotate. There. Now, when we place our exit, which will be right here, it'll be real easy for the maintenance guy to get to it. Now for our entrance, we do want to have a little bit of room for a queue, so we'll start it up here. Doesn't really matter where the entrance goes on this particular ride, because everyone just runs around in the circle to get on whatever horse they want. But the exit we'll place right here, and it'll just auto make our path. And I'm okay with this being the same color as the main path. It's close enough. All right, and connect entrance to path. You know what? We'll make this the cobblestone section. It just kind of fits this little nook here. And you usually want your entrance somewhat close to your exit, but it doesn't have to be super specifically close. We can have a long-ish line here like that. That's perfect. All right, achieve a monthly profit of 1,000. That one we're probably going to hit pretty soon. I am confident. Now, so we've got 2 rides essentially up and running. Oh, one other thing I like to do with the carousel here, and this unfortunately is going to make us test it, but its default sequence is spin, spin fast, spin. The spin fasts are actually a little bit more exciting without being too much more intense. So I like to do a spin fast, spin fast, spin fast. Let it do that. Now, unfortunately, whenever you change it from the default operation here, it's going to force you to test it before you can open it proper, as if like one of the horses is just going to randomly blow up because you decided to tell it spin fast 3 times. But anyway, I digress. We have money for one more ride, and dang it, one more ride we're going to get. Now, as far as building this park out, I do have a theme in mind. I have sort of a design and an artistic vision sort of planned out in my head. It might not look like it, but the rule of thumb I'm going to be going is function comes first, but form must follow. So I will be laying things out and having them be bare at the beginning, but as I get the money and resources to start spiffying up and decorating the park, both from increasing my design, the scenery ratings for everything, but also just from a general point of view aesthetic, that I will be doing this. This is not just going to be a bare bones, gimmick the numbers game. This is strategy and tactics for making a very profitable but also very enjoyable to look at park. So don't think I'm going to completely abandon aesthetics or theming. Anyway, back to my thing here. We've got one other unique ride to us, the Wild Blue. Doesn't have a lot of throughput, but it's middle of the road when it comes to fear, so it can be sort of an alternative to the roller coaster should people get tired of the roller coaster. Now this thing's a little trickier in terms of proper placement. Well, first off, we're gonna have to do more. No, I don't want angle snap. We're gonna have to be, there we go. See, you have to be a little bit more exacting with the placement here, but that's okay. All right, so we will place it right here. Now, as far as the entrance here, the closest way for people to get to the planes are on one of the corners here. I'm going to put the entrance over here so we have room to do some queue wrapping. For the exit, again, we want it near the control tower, but we also want it near the exit of the ride so that people can get off in a timely fashion. So the best of both worlds there would be putting it right here, and that makes our little connector path to it just fine. Excellent. All right, let us get our queue path, and oh, what the heck, we'll do one more round of cobblestone here, just because it's like the very first section of our park. We'll eventually deviate into different kinds of pathways and whatnot. And there's no gameplay aspects to these different paths. They all cost exactly the same. You don't get any kind of bonuses or penalties for using one color or the other. It's purely aesthetic. So let's do that. All right, I guess we wipe out one support. I don't want to wipe out too many of those, because then it just doesn't look right. Can we squeeze it in here without destroying the support? Again, I don't think this is actually going to go that long, or anyone's ever going to queue that long, but it fills in the space nicely. Okay, now as far as theming here, there's a theme that I do have in mind, and it kind of ties into the effective use of early game scenery. And that is the idea that this park takes place in a gigantic flower garden. Why? Well, because while you do have to research scenery to get some of the fancier things, like we have no special effects at all, we do get some scenery pieces for free. A lot of them are the natural ones because, well, you don't really need to research trees or rocks or bushes. That's kind of silly. So you get those for free. Well, you don't get the actual bushes and such for free, but you don't have to research them. As such, there is a particular couple of items here that make very effective use of both providing aesthetic bonuses and also being dirt cheap. The white and yellow floral bushes. These things right here are going to kind of be our backbone here for our design. We are going to be spamming the ever-living crap out of these things. But again, I'm not just doing these for gameplay bonus reasons. I mean, that's one of the major reasons, don't get me wrong. But I have sort of a quote-unquote story behind these. Like, you know, as far as scenery and aesthetics go, why is this place littered with these floral bushes? And actually what I should be doing is rotating as I place. Oops, that one's up on the rail. And I will get to that in just a moment. But for the moment, we are going to spend all $404.64, or at least as much of that as possible, on bushes. So I will see you on the flip side as I place all these. Okay, now let's see how we're doing. Our main goal is to get the queue scenery bonuses up to 100. 100 on the American Arrow, good. 100 on the Venetian Carousel, excellent. And 98% on wild blue. All right, just a few more bushes here, and we've only got a little bit of money left, which is fine. Oops. I don't feel the need to rotate the yellow ones each time because they're pretty much similar from any direction. All right, now how are we doing? 100%. Beautiful. Now, the reason why I wanted to get these Q scenery bonuses up is that it allows you to charge more money for that one. People will see more value in a properly scenery-fied ride than a completely barren one. We've got 23 bucks left to our name. Let us spend those on benches. People like them. Like them some benches. One outside of rides is a good idea because after a ride, people might get a little tired and might just need to sit down. And generally, the more intense rides will be a little bit more draining. So one outside the coaster, one outside that. Now for theming and whatnot, and the whole reason why this is a gigantic garden, or well, it's going to become a gigantic garden, is that the idea is. This is a bunch of bee-themed things. And I'm not talking about bee movies. I'm talking about like literal bees, like the actual insect. Why else would you have a theme park with tons of flowers in it, but to have a bunch of bee-themed rides? Now, I promise you guys this is not going to be the entire theme park. The entire theme park is not going to be bee-themed. This is just going to be sort of a subsection, because I can tell you an entire map of a park themed as bumblebees would outstay its welcome, much like the bee movie memes that have recently reemerged out there. But I digress. Let's get to some naming and theming, shall we? So this is not the American Arrow. This is Light of the Bumblebee. And let's get a new coat of paint on this. This shouldn't be red. Bees aren't red. These are yellow and black. So we want a yellow and black themed track. And we'll keep the supports white. I like the white supports. It's a soft color. As for the cars themselves, I wish they weren't in the shade, but we don't want red, white, and blue. We want, let's see, black. No, bees are more yellow, but we certainly want aspects of black in there. Yeah, there we go. Black stripes with maybe some yellow stars, I guess. There we go. Excellent. So that ride is themed. This ride, yes, I know it's a bunch of airplanes. Well, not if you use your imagination. Since they fly around in a whole bunch of them, why don't we call this one the Angry Swarm? Because in a way, it's like a big swarm of bees buzzing around all pissed off like. Not so much with Flight of the Valkyries. But let's get those colors changed and updated. Actually, since this is all support structure, I'm going to keep that as pure white, because it kind of mixes with the support structure of our coaster here. That being said, yeah, we want that, and we want black. Yeah, angry bees. And then for the chairs, yeah, that'll work. There we go, Angry Swarm. Now, for our Venetian carousel, that's not really bee-themed. I mean, there's horses here. The horses are not bees. So as such, well, what I'm going to do is I'm going to give it some more natural colors. We're thinking like wild horses here. You know, not necessarily like we're not going for like a Western theme here. And actually, if we can make the saddles the same color as the horses, it looks like they're barebacked. Yeah, I like this one. Maybe change the color green to match the bushes. Oh, I like that much better. Beautiful. I like it. I like it a lot. Now, we do want some music. Now, music does not actually impact any of the ratings of a ride. You could have every ride having music, and you could have no rides with music. You're not going to get any bonuses or penalties out of that. But I do want some music, and I have a little bit of my own that might fit here. We're going to go with Pinkie Pie Swear, Flutter Wonder. It's a nice sort of trance, wandering through the forest typey tune. And when it's not going to be playing constantly. It's only when we zoom in that you'll get to hear it for real. Now, as far as pricing, well, hang on, let me unpause here. These two both need to be tested. Oh yeah, let's go for a ride, shall we? Because this ride has to test itself. You guys were wondering what this ride looked like. Well, I'm going to show you. One drop, and all turns otherwise. And here we go. Yeah, see, it's not, even after that drop, it's not even the fastest of rides. But with, and yes, for those of you who are familiar with my videos, you know my fondness for wrong side banked turns, which this is, well, almost entirely. Whoa. Now, I was worried if going back and forth with the banking here would nauseate people, but it doesn't. I mean, there's a little nausea, but people generally aren't blowing their loads coming off of this ride. Yeah, 1.91 in the green, 6.3 or 8.36 excitement. All right, now for this ride, we're gonna ask it default 10. No, $20 for this thing. This is what's gonna make us our money. You're still testing. You need to get cranked up. You, my friend, can command at least 14. Yeah. Let's start with 12, and then when people start saying it's a good value, we'll crank it up higher. Oh yeah, we gotta open you. There we go. Venetian Carousel, yeah, 1.6 excitement. That's higher. That's a lot higher than you normally would get. It's a little bit higher nausea, but again, 1.03 is not enough to have people start blowing chunks off of there. And as for our pricing here, let's go for a $5. $5. All right, we're getting our first takers. Got a couple people going for coasters. As far as load settings here, we're gonna do full loads on the Venetian Carousel. Oh yeah, we gotta give this the proper name, not just the Venetian Carousel. Prancing through the flowers. Like a little herd of wild horses that have come here to just snack on the flowers. Not strictly bee themed, but it fits the setting at the very least. For the Angry Swarm, we want full load. And for this one, I'm gonna go with any load, but a minimum 45 second waiting time. That way, it runs fairly constantly, but if there's a big, huge crowd of people, it will stick around to get them all on board. All right, folks. Well, as you can see, we are quickly dipping into the negatives, but that will soon change in our next episode. So if you like this episode and you want to see more like it, go ahead and hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, and leave me a comment, good, bad, or indifferent. Your feedback is always welcome. Also, I got a new one here for you. So, yeah, YouTube recently had a change in how it does subscriptions. Hitting that subscribe button by itself doesn't do what it used to do. oddly enough. It used to send you videos to your things to let you know, hey, Pinstar's just released a new video. Doesn't do that anymore. There's a new button that you do on top of subscribing, and that's that little bell icon. I'll show you on the screen here in just a second. Go ahead and click that bell there and turn on notifications, and that will make the channel behave like it used to when you normally hit the subscribe button. So if you want the latest and greatest and you want to know exactly when everything I do is posted, hit that notifications button and keep yourself informed. Until next time, this has been Pinstar signing out. See ya.